Have you ever noticed that the things you want most seem to slip further away, the harder you reach for them? The relationship you desperately needed, pushed away by the desperation itself. The opportunity you forced, collapsed under the weight of your anxiety. The version of yourself you were trying so hard to become, retreating further. With every effort to control the process, there is something happening beneath the surface of these experiences. Something that Carl Jung observed decades ago, and that modern neuroscience is only now beginning to fully understand. The subconscious mind, the vast, intelligent, extraordinarily capable part of you that processes 11 million bits of information every second, does not perform well under pressure. It does not create well under surveillance. It does not speak clearly when the noise of need and fear and the endless monitoring of what others think drowns out its voice. The subconscious works best in the open space that appears when you stop forcing, when you stop performing, when you let go. And today I want to show you what happens, really happens, at the deepest level of your mind when you finally do. Carl Jung spent his life studying the relationship between the conscious mind and what he called the unconscious. What we, on this channel, call the subconscious. And one of his most profound observations was this: the ego, the conscious, managing, controlling part of the self, is extraordinarily limited compared to the intelligence that operates beneath it. The subconscious knows things the conscious mind cannot access. It holds the accumulated wisdom of everything you have lived, every experience, every lesson, every moment of genuine understanding. It holds the answer to the question you have been turning over for months. The direction that is truly right for you. The creative solution that has not yet surfaced. But here is what Jung also understood. The ego's constant need to control, to manage outcomes, to monitor perceptions, to force the right result, creates a kind of static. A noise so constant and so loud that the voice of the subconscious cannot be heard. Letting go is not weakness. It is not giving up. It is the conscious decision to quiet the static so that the deeper intelligence can finally speak. Think about the moments in your life when things came together most beautifully. When the right person appeared at exactly the right time. When an idea arrived fully formed, as if from nowhere. When a door opened that you had not even known to knock on. What were you doing in the moments just before? Almost certainly, you were not forcing. You were not managing every variable. You were not consumed by what people would think or whether it would work out. You were simply present, absorbed in something, released, even briefly, from the tight grip of need and performance and self-monitoring. And in that release, the subconscious moved. This is not mysticism. This is neuroscience. When the brain's self-monitoring systems quiet, when what researchers call the default mode network activates, and the analytical, evaluating, socially conscious prefrontal mind steps back, the subconscious begins its most sophisticated work. Connections form that logic could not have engineered. Solutions surface that effort alone could not have produced. The right impulse arrives, and because the static is gone, you can actually hear it. Letting go is the condition under which your subconscious does its best work. It always has been. But what does it actually mean to let go? Because this is where most people get lost. They hear let go and they think, give up, stop caring, become indifferent, accept defeat. And so they either cling harder because letting go feels like losing, or they perform a kind of forced detachment that is itself another form of control. True letting go is neither of these things. Jung described it as the difference between the ego's will and the self's trust. The ego wants to control the outcome because it is afraid of failure, afraid of rejection, afraid of the judgment of others, afraid that without constant management, everything will fall apart. The self, the deeper, broader, wiser dimension of who you are, knows something the ego does not. That the subconscious mind is already working. That intelligence far greater than conscious effort is already moving through your life. That the constant interference of the ego's need to control is often the only thing standing between you and the results you are seeking. Letting go is the act of trusting that intelligence, not passively, not by doing nothing, but by acting from a place of groundedness rather than fear, by releasing the outcome while remaining fully committed to the process, by showing up completely and then allowing the subconscious to do what it does best. There is a specific pattern that Jung noticed in the people who lived what he called individuated lives, people who had undergone the process of becoming genuinely, authentically themselves. And it is a pattern that almost everyone who has experienced a major breakthrough, a genuine transformation, a moment of profound clarity can recognize. The breakthrough did not come when they were trying hardest. It came in the exhale after the long effort, in the morning after the sleepless night of forcing, in the walk taken not to solve the problem but simply to breathe, in the conversation that was not planned to change anything but did. The subconscious, freed from the noise of desperate effort, finally had the space to deliver what it had been processing all along. This is what letting go actually produces. Not the abandonment of what matters, but the creation of the internal space in which the subconscious can bring it forward. The tension of the over-controlled life keeps everything in suspension. The release of genuine letting go allows it to fall into place. Not all at once, not dramatically, quietly, the way things that are right tend to arrive. Not with great noise, but with a sense of recognition. Of course, this is what was always supposed to happen. One of the heaviest things the ego carries is the weight of other people's opinions. The constant, exhausting monitoring of how you are being perceived. Whether you are enough, whether you are acceptable, whether the version of yourself you are presenting is one that will be approved of, included, valued. This monitoring consumes an extraordinary amount of the subconscious's resources. Resources that could be used for creativity, for genuine insight, for the kind of deep intuitive intelligence that knows exactly what is right for you when you release the need for approval, not through indifference, but through the genuine security of knowing who you are. Something remarkable happens in the subconscious. The bandwidth that was devoted to social surveillance becomes available for its higher functions. You begin to think more clearly, to sense more accurately, to act from a place of genuine intelligence, rather than from the performance of acceptability. Jung called this the journey from the persona, the mask we wear for the world, to the self. The persona is always performing. The self simply is, And when you begin to live more from the self, when you release the compulsive need to manage others' impressions, the subconscious begins to work for you in a way it simply cannot. When you are primarily occupied with managing your image, there is a quality of life that becomes available when the subconscious is finally free. It is difficult to describe precisely because it is more a felt experience than a concept. But you have touched it. In moments of deep absorption, when you forgot to monitor yourself, and something extraordinary came through. In moments of genuine rest, when you stopped performing and simply were. In moments of real connection, when you stopped managing the impression you were making, and simply met another person honestly as yourself. These moments are not accidents. They are previews. They are the subconscious showing you what is available when the static quiets. What becomes possible is not a life without challenge or difficulty. It is a life in which your deepest intelligence is available to meet those challenges. A life in which the creative, intuitive, precisely calibrated guidance of the subconscious can actually reach you, because you are no longer drowning it out with the noise of control and performance and the endless management of what others think. This is what Jung meant when he said that the privilege of a lifetime is becoming who you truly are, not the version managed for approval, not the version performing for acceptance, the version that emerges when the letting go is complete, and the subconscious, freed at last, begins to create the life that was always possible. So how does this actually happen? Not in theory, but in the lived, daily experience of a real life? Jung's answer was not a technique. It was a practice of attention. The practice of learning to observe the ego's movements, its grasping, its monitoring, its desperate need to control, without being completely identified with them. To see the fear beneath the controlling behavior, to recognize the performance for what it is, to notice, in the moment when the subconscious's quiet guidance is being drowned out by the ego's noise. This observing self, the part of you that can watch the ego's movements without being swept away by them, is what Jung called the transcendent function. And its development is the beginning of genuine letting go. Not a dramatic single moment of release. Not a decision made once and never revisited, but a continuous, daily, gentle practice of returning to the deeper intelligence beneath the noise. Returning to the question, what does my subconscious actually know here? Beneath the fear and the performance and the need for approval. Returning to the trust that the answer is already present, and that the only thing required of you is to become quiet enough to hear it. The first practice is what I call creating the space of silence. Every day, even for 10 minutes, you create a condition in which the subconscious can actually speak. Not meditation in the rigid sense, simply stillness. The morning before the phone. The walk taken without earphones or agenda. The few minutes of genuine quiet before sleep, in the theta state when the subconscious is most receptive. In this space, you practice one thing, noticing what arises without being summoned, the thought that surfaces without effort, the feeling that appears without obvious cause. The direction that presents itself quietly, without the drama of the ego's conclusions. You do not analyze. You do not evaluate. You do not immediately apply. You simply notice. And over time, with consistent practice, the voice of the subconscious becomes increasingly distinct from the noise of the ego. You begin to recognize its quality, its tone, the way it arrives, gently, without urgency, without the anxious edge of the ego's conclusions. And as you recognize it more reliably, you begin to trust it. And as you trust it, you let go, not as an act of will, but as the natural consequence of knowing that a deeper intelligence is already at work. The second practice is the daily release of the approval program. This is not an act of indifference. It is an act of discernment. Every day, you practice asking one question before you act. Am I doing this because it is right, or because I am afraid of what will happen if I do not? Am I saying this because it is true, or because I am managing someone's impression of me? Am I pursuing this because it genuinely calls me, or because it will look good from the outside? These questions do not require dramatic answers. They simply require honesty, and over time, the honesty begins to shift something in the subconscious. The neural pathways of approval seeking, built through years of conditional love and social survival, begin to weaken. New pathways form, pathways of genuine self-trust, of action from genuine values rather than from fear. And as this shift happens in the subconscious, something extraordinary occurs in the external world. The energy that was consumed by performance becomes available for genuine presence. And genuine presence, the quality of being fully, authentically here, is magnetic in a way that no performance can match. People feel it. Opportunities align with it. The subconscious, no longer occupied with managing the approval system, turns its extraordinary intelligence toward what actually matters. The third practice uses the subconscious's most receptive window, the 20 minutes after waking and before sleep, when the brain is in theta and the analytical mind is quiet. In this window, instead of filling the space immediately with noise and input and the day's demands, you practice something Jung would have recognized as active imagination. You bring to your awareness the version of yourself that has let go, not the version managing and performing and controlling, the version that acts from trust, that creates from genuine inspiration, that moves through the world with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their own subconscious is already working on their behalf. You do not visualize outcomes. You embody a quality of being, the ease of the person who is not performing for approval, the clarity of the person whose decisions come from genuine inner intelligence, the creativity of the person whose subconscious is free to do its most profound work. Hold this quality in your body for 10 minutes. Feel it, not imagine it. Let the theta state carry it directly into the subconscious. And over days and weeks of consistent practice, something shifts. The letting go stops being a decision you have to make and starts being a condition you inhabit. The subconscious, receiving daily instruction that it is safe to operate without the ego's interference, begins to do so, and the results, quiet, precise, often unexpected, begin to appear. Jung called the process we have been describing individuation, the journey of becoming genuinely, authentically, fully oneself, not the self constructed for approval, not the self managed for acceptance, but the self that emerges when the layers of performance and conditioning and fear are gradually released. He observed that this process is not comfortable, that it requires a willingness to face the parts of yourself that the ego has been managing and concealing, the shadow, the unacknowledged aspects of the self that the persona keeps hidden, the unlived life, the possibilities that were suppressed in the service of being acceptable, the genuine desires that were set aside because they did not fit the approved version of who you were supposed to be. Individuation is not the rejection of relationship or responsibility or care for others. It is the integration of the full self, including the parts the ego has been keeping carefully out of sight. And as this integration happens, something profound occurs in the subconscious. The energy that was used to maintain the divisions, to keep the shadow hidden, the persona polished, the performance consistent, becomes available. The subconscious, no longer occupied with the maintenance of fragmentation, turns its full intelligence toward the life that is genuinely yours. And what was previously impossible, not because of external circumstances, but because of the internal division, begins to become possible. This is what letting go ultimately produces. Not just better results, a more whole life. Let us come back to where we began. The things you want most seem to slip away the harder you reach for them. The harder you force, the harder you perform, the harder you try to manage every variable, including what other people think of you. This is not a failure of effort. It is a misunderstanding of how the deepest intelligence works. Your subconscious is not waiting for you to figure everything out consciously. It is not waiting for you to earn the right result through sufficient effort. It is not waiting for you to secure enough approval to justify moving forward. It is waiting for you to get quiet enough to hear it. It is waiting for the static to settle, for the performance to pause, for the grip of the ego's fear to loosen, even slightly, even briefly, so that its guidance can reach you. Jung spent his life pointing toward this truth, that the richest resources of the human psyche are not in the conscious mind's determined effort. They are in the unconscious intelligence that operates beneath it, vast, patient, extraordinarily capable, waiting for the invitation of genuine letting go. When you stop trying to control everything, when you release the outcome while remaining fully present to the process, your subconscious finally has the freedom to do what it has always been capable of. And the life you have been forcing toward you begins, quietly and precisely, to find its way to you instead. Let go. Your subconscious already knows the way. Subscribe to Awake Mind. I will see you in the next one.